Okay, we're going to talk about different ways that you guys can stretch pieces of paper of watercolor onto a board. So the first one I showed you guys was with the gum tape. This brown tape right over here where you have to get the paper wet, you get the tape wet and you stretch it and you let it dry. So this method is really, really nice if you're using really large pieces of paper. It keeps it very firm and stretched for long periods of time. Now, if you're doing something smaller than this size, another option you can use is just regular masking tape right over here. So you just get your board, whatever board surface that you're using, and let's say I want to use this small piece of paper. I don't have to get this paper wet. I can just leave it dry. I put it onto a board, and what I do is just take the piece of tape, and I'm going to make a perimeter just like how I used with the gum tape. So I take this piece of tape here. You want about half of the tape covering the paper, half the tape covering the board, and I can stretch it this way. So this is really nice if you don't want to wait for paper to dry. You just want to get painting. You just have the paper already dry and ready to go. So, okay. So that's another way to do it. Again, use the masking tape if it's small. Using a big piece of paper like this with the masking tape, it just never works. That the paper gets so strong when it starts to dry out that it makes it impossible. Well, it just comes off the board is what happens. Okay, method, another one. Number 2, 3, whatever we're on. So this right here, this is called gator board, and it's like this really styrofoamy light, very heavy board. Hey, and anyways, we'll pause this for a minute. Okay, sorry for the interruption. I just didn't want to start over. Okay, so gator board, you use a stapler, or you could also use some tape to use it. Most people use a stapler. So one way you can do is get a piece of paper and then you just put staples around the perimeter of the paper while the paper is dry. Another method that you can use is to get the paper wet and do that also, but you kind of stretch it like a canvas. So I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to take this piece of paper. It's going to be on this board over here. So it's like the gum tape. I want to get my paper wet. I want to get it wet on both sides. Ooh, a little bit of watercolor on that. That sucks. Okay. Make sure your board is clean, first off. Ugh. Okay, and what I'm going to do is take my stapler. Now, when you're stapling with your paper wet, it's like stretching a canvas. I'm going to start with one side, and then I'm going to pull the paper towards me like you're pulling a canvas, and you're going to do the opposite side. So you're always thinking about opposites with this. Now I'm going to go over to the corner over here, pull the paper. Now I'm going to go over to the other opposite side, pull the paper, and just kind of continuing to do that. Now I'm going to pull the corner. Now I'm going to pull the opposite corner. So this is another way to do it. Lots of options. And once you kind of get it pulled, you can just start stapling. And when your paper is all dry, it is really, really important that you have your watercolor paper fully dry before you take it off the board, because if you don't, what will happen is it'll just start to buckle again and wrinkle up all up, and you don't want that to happen. So anyways, gator board. To take off this, you want to use an X-Acto knife. Okay, got my X-Acto knife, and you're going to cut where the edge of the paper and the tape is. So I'm going to take my X-Acto knife, I'm going to slice, slice, slice. Usually you hear this delightful little crack when you do that. I love listening to that crack. It means you stretched it right. So take off the tape this way. The brown tape's going to stay on your paper forever, but yeah, I mean, you're going to mat and frame these anyways, right? And so you just make sure the mat is covering the tape. Anyways, but that's how you take off the paper using the butcher tape. Okay, that's it.